Good morning, everyone. Today we are going to start chapter 3, that is ethical dilemmas. Okay. The contents here are ethical dilemmas, code of personal ethics for employees, how to resolve an ethical problem, how to resolve ethical dilemmas. Okay. So, first of all, what is the meaning of ethical dilemmas? Students, basically, ethical dilemmas, that is a situation where the decision maker has to choose between right or right and wrong. ओके जैसे फॉर एग्जाम्पल अपन रामायण की अगर बात करते हैं तो वहां पे भी श्री राम that had he had to choose between two dharma, that is to abide by his father's word and proceed to the forest for 14 years, or to ignore his father's word and rule the country as a Kshatriya prince. Okay, both these alternatives constitute right action by applying different yardsticks or viewpoints. Okay, so a dilemma could be a right versus wrong situation in which the right would be more convenient. A right versus wrong dilemma is easier to resolve. Okay, so we can say that ethical dilemma involves a situation that makes a person question that is the right or wrong thing to do. Okay, so the term ethics is concerned with norms for the conduct of people as member of society. In this more specialized use of the term, ethics is referred to as morality. Attempts have been made to find, if possible, a set of moral principles or rules that would hold good for all rational people. However, a view prevails that such set of rules can only be fairly specific to individual societies at different periods of time. This leads to moral relativism. मोरल रिलेटिविज्म इट मींस मतलब कुछ चीज आप कह सकते हो सम कुछ लोगों के लिए वो चीज सही है एंड द सेम चीज जो है कुछ लोगों के लिए गलत है ओके सो दिस ambiguous situations create the ethical dilemma to the manager and selection of an alternative which gives them higher return at the cost of losing integrity they don't think. When confronted with ethical dilemma, for that Bennett had given some tips. First, understand and define the dilemma. Collect the factual information. List out the alternatives. Check and test on your standards. Each alternative, make your decision. An ethical dilemma is a moral situation in which a choice has to be made between two equally undesirable alternatives. An ethical dilemma is hard to identify as it is very specific in nature and many situational factors are embedded in it. Ethical dilemma occurs in the type of situations when one has to choose between right versus right sorts. Okay, right versus wrong में तो आपके लिए easy होता है decision लेना, but it becomes very much difficult when we have to choose between right versus right. Okay, some great men have defined ethical dilemma as, according to Doug Wallace, an ethical dilemma exists when one is faced with having to make a choice among following alternatives. A. Significant value conflict among different interests. B. Real alternatives, those are equally justifiable. C. Significant consequences on stakeholders in the situations. Okay, so we can say that ethical dilemma make individuals think about their obligations, duties, or responsibilities. These dilemmas can be highly complex and difficult to resolve. Okay, easier dilemma involves a decision between right and right. However, any dilemma needs to be resolved. कोई भी dilemma आपके मन में confusion हो, that needs to be resolved. आपको right versus right choose करना हो, right versus wrong, you have to go for one way only. Okay. Now, salient features of ethical dilemma. It is very specific in nature and having some special and salient features that are outcome is uncertain, multiple choices and alternatives, mixed consequences, direct or indirect involvement. Okay, so these are, we can say, the salient feature or characteristic of ethical dilemma, or we can say that it is choice between equally undesirable alternatives, different courses of action possible, involves value judgments about actions or consequences. Okay, there may be unfavorable outcomes. It can be resolved and it cannot be resolved. There is no right or wrong. Okay. So now, approaches and methods of resolving ethical dilemmas. Methods of resolving ethical dilemmas occur in organizations in different forms, framework, and structure. So single, unique, and standards method cannot be applied to resolve them. There are some classical approaches and traditional methods developed in resolving ethical dilemmas. जैसे फर्स्ट आपको दिख रहा है यूटिलिटेरियन, दैट इज एंड बेस्ड अप्रोच. ओके, इट इज इन विच द वैल्यू डिलीवर्ड टू द स्टेक होल्डर्स इन योर ऑर्गेनाइजेशन. यहाँ पे आपके दिमाग में क्वेश्चन आता है कि डज इट्स बेनिफिट्स एक्सीड कॉस्ट. सेकंड आता है यूनिवर्सलिज्म, दैट इज रूल बेस्ड, दैट इज एंटाइटलमेंट टू समथिंग. ओके, यहाँ आपका क्वेश्चन बनता है डज इट रेस्पेक्ट ह्यूमन राइट्स और सोसाइटी. Third is care-based approach, that is equitable sharing of pain and pleasure. There is a question that does it distribute benefits and burdens evenly in between employees? Okay. So this is the meaning of ethical dilemma, that in which the condition in which we have to choose between right versus right or right versus wrong. Okay. So thank you everyone.